Black Friday is over, Cyber Monday has come and gone, and even Shop Small Saturday is long gone, which is very sad, considering I am a Shop Small. And we would love to have that be a weekly occurrence. But the thing here is that those big sales that we wait for all year long, that we anticipate, that we might even save our pennies for, are gone. They're done. But saving money, or getting the best deal, or trying to afford that dream room, those things still remain even though the doors to the sales have closed. So the question is, how do you save money? How do you make projects that you're wanting to do affordable? How do you refresh from a old, tired, outdated living room to something that's a little bit more 2025, or at least in the 2020s, or hey, at least in the 2000s? How do you do that when you really can only anticipate some of these big sales landing once a year, twice a year, maybe 3 times a year? How do you do that? Friend, today's episode is all about ways that you can save money. These are 10 of my best tips. And what I mean by my best is the ones that I use in my own home, the ones that I've used for years, the ones that I encourage my clients and my students inside the collective to use. These are the tips. And I'm not holding anything back. So get out your notebook, get out your pencil, because I'm going to dive in to 10 of my top money saving tips, because your girl here started all on a budget and somehow we made it work. All right, let's dive into today's show. We grew up with the phrase, home is where the heart is, but our culture has shifted and now the message is, home should be Pinterest perfect. I'm calling BS on that message. Home, it's not about the stuff, it's about the story. And whether you know it or not, your home is a reflection of you and is already saying something. So what is it that you want it to say? Hey, I'm Danny, a former first grade teacher turned home decorator. Going from a dual income to a single income so I could stay home with my babies meant budget, like ramen eating, Goodwill shopping budget. And I learned a few things along the way, like how to bring big style to your home without breaking the bank. And I'm sharing it all with you. Tips, tricks, decor, and design advice so you can learn to tell your story with your style, where you can start living free from the Pinterest perfect trap and start living a life of intention. Welcome to Fig and Farm at Home, where we design happy living and where it doesn't have to be perfect to be beautiful. Can we just start by saying and acknowledging what it is you don't need to hear? You don't need to hear save your money. You don't need to hear budget and change your budget. You don't need to hear stop going through the drive-through or stop going through Starbucks line. Okay, those things, we already know that those are going to help us. And those are disciplined ideas for getting cash in a way that is sometimes a little bit quicker, depending on how many times you eat out or how many times you drive through Starbucks. Those are very disciplined ways. Same with no spend months. You already have, we're bombarded with these ideas of ways that we can kind of inject cash fast. And that's fine. Those are fine ideas. In fact, I definitely encourage those ideas if you're wanting to, if you're trying to afford the couch, for example, and it's $1,200 and you're trying to do a couple things in order to still use your budget the way that your budget is intended, but then also get a little bit of cash infusion. But these other tips, yes, will some inject cash when you need it, but otherwise they're longer form ideas, meaning they have a little bit longer of a shelf life than I just need to sell something in order to get a quick win. All right, and the first one, I'm pretty blue. I am pretty blue in the face when I say this, but I cannot stress it enough. And if you've been around for a while, you know exactly what I'm going to say. And that is to know your personal design style, to know your aesthetic. It is paramount, truly, to saving money. Because what happens is if you are already overwhelmed with decision making, if you're already overwhelmed by Every time you go into a store or you're looking online and you're wondering and you're filtering through all of these thousands of choices and you're trying to narrow it down to one, and then you think you've got the one, you've got a pretty good eye, and you pay for the one and you bring the one home, and then you realize, oh shoot, something isn't quite right. This doesn't quite look good. What did I do? That was a mistake. Oh shoot, that's money wasted. It's a spiral. It's almost, if you can visualize a hamster wheel, that is literally a situation that has happened over and over and over so many times, and this can all be avoided. And I'm seeing it right now with design clients I work with in the Decorating SOS calls. I see it with students inside of the collective. I see that confidence changing, where we have worked together for long enough where the initial meeting was a whole heck of a lot of non-confidence, a whole heck of a lot of decision fatigue, and a reliance on me sometimes even for, can you just check this to make sure that this is the right choice? I'm happy to do that. When we work side by side, I'm happy to do that because I know that sometimes that second opinion is helpful. But what I'm seeing is the choices now being brought to me of, can you check this? I think this is right, but I'm not quite sure. Those are more in alignment with their aesthetic than they were when we first started. That is progress, and that is confidence, and it is a lack of frustration, and it's money better spent. A lot of money better spent. When you understand what your design style is, I call it your personal aesthetic, when you understand what that is, you can use that literally as a filter for every decision you make. If you know, for example, that your design style is comprised of brass and we'll say black matte metal, if you know that it's warm wood tones, if you know that it is some vintage but some new, if you know that you love tassels or you love polka dots or if you love bright bold colors, when you're choosing product, what happens when you go into a store or you shop online and you're looking for that new thing that you need? You can use your aesthetic as a filter. And when you have that list of design elements, which are, colors, shapes, textures, all of those things, when you have a list of those design elements sitting right literally in front of you, you're able to say, that pillow I really, really love does not check any of these boxes that are my aesthetic. It doesn't have pom-poms. It isn't the color I like. It doesn't have polka dots or whatever I just listed, right? It doesn't have any of those things. Okay, what I can now do is say, this is cute. This would look really cute in someone's home. This is not coming home for me. It helps you eliminate. And of course, we don't have time to do that with 1,000 objects or 1,000 pillows when we're at Target, but it gives us the confidence and the decision-making acumen in order to be able to go and choose confidently. So I will never stop saying that we're done choosing our aesthetic. We're done understanding our aesthetic. No, we are never done. We are never done. That is the number one thing that you should focus on. And friend, if you are wanting a little bit of help knowing how to understand your aesthetic, I am hosting a 3-day workshop. This one is a paid workshop. This is not a free workshop. In the fall and in the spring, I do have free workshops where I walk you through high level for how to understand your aesthetic and get in tune with that. But this one is in depth, and it's not happening before Christmas, so don't worry. You still get to have all the time to decorate your cookies and do shopping and watch the movies and all the things. This is happening in the new year. It is our room reset workshop. It is 3 days spread over the course of 3 weeks, where we are spending an hour and a half each time, and there's a limited number of spaces so that I can really get in the weeds with you, understanding and helping you identify what your aesthetic is, so that you can walk away with a clear understanding of what is comprised of your aesthetic, what makes your design style, and then how we make a plan moving forward in order to modify the rooms that we're working on. We work on one room together. You learn how to create a mood board. You get hand holding as, of course, I'm looking at and helping you name the ideas of what your aesthetic is comprised of. You get my free room redecorating roadmap, which is honestly, this is such a fantastic tool, and it's not talked about enough here in this on this podcast. But what happens is when we have a budget, and I'm getting on a little bit of tangent here, but what happens is we get this idea that we are wanting to buy the next thing. We just know, okay, I'm wanting to redo my room. I'm going to buy the duvet, or I'm going to buy the couch, or I'm going to buy the dining room table. But sometimes we are misaligned with the thing that is going to make the biggest impact in our home or in our room. And we buy that first, and then that then becomes a dictator for everything else down the line. And when you know and use this redecorating roadmap, it gives you literally a step-by-step plan of what to buy, when to buy it, and using the budget that you have. And everybody's budget is different, right? Some start at $500, some start at $1,500. The idea here is that this redecorating roadmap allows you to see what decision should be made first in order to give you and your room specifically the biggest impact. And it doesn't always start with an expensive item, just as a side note and a hint. So friend, we are diving in deep. We are doing a room reset workshop. This is for those of you who are ready to take action. You're not quite loving the home that you live in. You're wanting to go deep. You're wanting some instruction. You're wanting a whole heck of a lot of hand-holding, and you will, again, walk away with a clear understanding of your design style, because I am fact-checking absolutely everything. I'm asking you questions. I'm guiding you. I'm making sure that I'm in those Pinterest boards with you, helping you identify, and I'm giving you a name for it. I'm helping you identify what it is I see. In fact, we did this last year. I piloted it last spring with a small group of women, and some of the feedback I got was just remarkable for the clarity that they received, knowing confidently what their design aesthetic is, and they have moved forward beautifully. And we're moving, of course, into new rooms and things like that, but it's just so fun to see the confidence soar. Okay, well, enough about that. If you want to register for that room reset workshop, you can do that by going to bit.ly/FF, like Fig and Farm, room reset, and that link will be in the show notes. All right, but when you know your aesthetic, you grow in confidence. You are less likely to make decisions that are emotional, and they are more intentional. And that ultimately will save you money. Number 2, this is one that I really want you to pay attention to. And this is not necessarily implying, and I want you to hear me when I say this does not imply hire me, though of course that can be helpful. But when you reach out before you get stuck, you will ultimately save money. What do I mean by that? I had a client a few years ago who was so excited about working on her living room, and it was so fun. We had her dad involved. He was building floating shelves to be kind of the focal point of this really big wall. She had wide open, big windows that outstretched into her really fun kind of wooded backyard. And she was just excited. I mean, it's exciting when you start making changes and you start seeing some of that progress. It's like, the snowball that gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and you're now pushing that snowball. It's really very fun. But she got really excited, and she wanted to, we talked about the vision. We had Dad building the shelves. We had a new table that was brought in. We had all kinds of really fun wheels in motion. And she wanted to work on the pillows, and that's fine. And I absolutely want, when I'm working one-on-one with people, them to take ownership of it. But before we were at that step, and before we could really identify some of her design elements that make up her design style, she went shopping. And she didn't just go shopping and say, hey, Danny, does this work? She went shopping and she brought some things home. And when I came over the next time, she wanted to know, do these work? And I said, well, sure. I mean, we can make anything work. Really, truly, we can make anything work. But if this is the goal that we have established, and this is the direction we're going, these things don't align with that. So, and she got it. I didn't need to there's no scolding, right? She made a choice and they were good choices, but they just weren't in alignment with the goal. And sometimes you need that person there to help you with that goal, to help you keep on track so that you don't get side railed. And that's one of the things I was just alluding to a second ago, or just mentioning a second ago, when we have people who I've worked with over long periods of time, they're wanting to stay on that track. They know that they have the propensity to move off of it and sometimes make mistakes that are costly mistakes, and they don't want to do that again. So having that help and that guide can be helpful, but that doesn't necessarily just involve me. So when you're wanting to do a room refresh, I want you to think about, what are your current skills? If you're wanting to, say, put a board and batten wall in your home, great. I love that idea for you. I love it. But what are your skill sets in order to do that? And is this something that could snowball into adverse effects rather than something that you're, picturing on Pinterest and actually making happen? What skill set do you have? What time do you have? Is this going to be a started and aborted project? Or, if you do it yourself, or is this going to be something that is in your wheelhouse and you're able to complete? Knowing your own limitations is really, really helpful here. And knowing when you might need a little bit of help. I am immediately picturing this idea of creatively bartering. I've done that a couple times where I have offered my service in exchange for another service. And not only is that fun, but wow, that can save a whole heck of a lot of money. I did that years ago with a design client who happened to be my son's orthodontist and my orthodontist. And I have big bills to pay. If you can remember or imagine what those orthodontia bills are, those are big bills. And I did some design work in exchange for reduction of that cost. Win-win. That can happen all over the place. We are anticipating one right now where Mr. Fig and Farm is going to be building some shelving and a wraparound nook seat, like for a breakfast nook, with some shelving in this really sweet little house. And he's going to be building that, and part of that payment is hopefully going to be bartered for some car work that needs to be done on my car. It's a beautiful compatibility here, and it allows you to save money, and then there's that partnership which really honors someone else's skill set. And I just love that when we can kind of work together in order to say, hey, I recognize that you do this better than I do, and actually, you know what, I do that in a very not braggy way. I do that better than you. Let me help you, right? All right, number 3, make a plan. Okay, I promise you I'm getting to the real, let's just get some cash in our pockets tips. But when you go out and you are shopping and it's the impulse buys, you guys. I'm not going to land on this for long because you know it. You know that if you don't have a plan, it's like going grocery shopping and you're hungry. And you're thinking, oh my gosh, now I can hear my tummy and it's just rumbling. And oh, wow, I think 3 aisles over, they can hear it. And oh, you know what? I need those Cheetos. And oh, I need that. And then you make the yucky choices, right? Okay, I'm raising my hand because I do it all the time. I'm getting out of that habit, but I do it. It is the exact same thing, only the price points are higher. And when it comes to home decor. And so when you go in with a full plan, which is exactly what that room reset workshop is going to teach us. We're going to walk away with a full plan for our room, as well as our aesthetic. You walk away knowing when you need to buy it, what you need to buy, because it's not just a matter of I want it. It is a matter of, how is this going to impact my home? How is it going to change the landscape of the room I am doing, the room I am working on? How is it going to affect that positively? So ultimately, it is slowing down just a teeny tiny bit. Slowing down because you're going to reap the benefit, and it's going to be, the end result is going to be better. So if we can slow down, and if we can get some of these ideas in order and solidified first, we're going to reap the benefits big time. All right, number 4. And here's where we're starting to get into the let's get some cash back in our pockets because we want that couch, or we want that dining room table, or we want to be able to know what our budget is when we're doing that room reset workshop and we are working on the redecorating roadmap. We want to know, how much are we able to start with, and what can we afford in that first leg or first round of modifications. Here we are. I love this, and they've come such a long way, but this is cashback cards or cashback apps or extensions that you put on your computer. I love this so much because I should probably look and know how much money I have saved just using these strategies alone. So a cashback card, of course, you're probably already using one. I can immediately think of 3 stores I use, and these are ones I repeat. They usually have an upfront cost, like REI, Recreational Equipment Incorporated, I think is what it's called for, or stands for. An outdoor equipment company, which, if you've been around for a while, Mr. Fig and Farm and I love to go backpacking and hiking and camping and all the things. And that equipment is expensive. It is. And so it's not just equipment, it's clothing and, hiking boots and all the things. But when we use that card, we are able to then get literal cash back. Same with Costco. That is an upfront membership. I will gladly pay it because I have 3 boys and those 3 boys love to eat. I get cash back, and quite a bit of cash back every single year in order to then, use a Costco. But hey, that is taking that money and I'm applying it to a place I already spend money at, and I'm reducing my budget elsewhere. It's fantastic. Another one is Target. I love the Target card. Yes, this is where I have talked to some friends about this and they get a little cringy about it. So it's all a matter of comfort, but the Target card is literally a debit card specifically for Target, but you not only get 5% cash back, or savings, I should say, 5% savings each time you use the card, but then free shipping, which is great. Also, I'm not being paid to say this. But then they have, of course, those in store. If you have the card, you get those like exclusive savings, which, you know what? I am that person who will stand in an aisle, a quiet aisle, and I will scan every single item, or, because I buy what I need. I don't necessarily look at the saving coupon or the saving brochure, but I will stand there and I will scan every single item in order to see what is on sale, so that I can reap those benefits just a little bit more. And it just is compounding. So there's that ability to save with that initial purchase. Cashback apps, these are fun. I have my favorites, but I want to mention a couple. One, of course, you're probably hearing about this, Rakuten or Honey. Those are, Honey, I believe, is an extension. Rakuten is an app, but they will deliver some coupons for you if it's an app. The extensions, those are the ones I use. So I don't want to get into the technicality of how to use it, but you apply it to your computer on your browser, usually a Chrome browser, and you allow, anytime you're shopping, if you have the Honey extension, or I use the Capital One extension, if I'm shopping for, let's say, soccer shoes for the boys, if there's a deal that Capital One has, it will pop up and I will immediately be able to buy it through that extension, and then I save money. Camel, I believe, is an Amazon specific extension, so check that one out. Not one that I personally use. I literally just personally use Capital One, but something I'm looking into for this next year to get a little bit more savings, because college students, boy, they are expensive. So check out those cashback apps, those cashback extensions, and the cashback cards. If you are repeating purchases, like for me, Target is my place. I don't go to Walmart necessarily, but I go to Target. When I do that, I know that I'm going to get those savings. I can immediately think too of airline miles, right? It's the same idea. If you use an airline credit card, you're going to get points, and then you're going to be able to redeem those for miles and flights rather than taking it out of your account. So it's a win-win. Number 5 is similar, and that is just the rewards from frequently shopping those places. Where are you shopping a lot? And do they have a rewards program? And if they do not have a rewards program, maybe think about where you should be shopping that's an alternate to that. I am, of course, thinking about grocery stores. I'm thinking about places like airline miles. This is a great example, right? The more you shop in this one airline, the more miles you get, and then you can redeem them for other flights, right? The same idea applies, but grocery stores, that is why they have those little insider members. You don't have to pay for them necessarily. Of course, they all have upgrades. We have benefited immensely from the upgrade through the Kroger, which is in our local area, Fred Meyer, the Kroger rewards program. It is one of those where it's kind of gamified now every week. And thankfully, Mr. Friggin Farm, he loves it. He loves the numbers. So we meal plan. That is one way. Of course, we're not going to camp on there, but one way you can save money, of course, is planning ahead. But we plan ahead our weekly meals. We shop every night on Thursday and make the order. This is an online order. Make the online order for Friday pickup. We do that intentionally because what happens on Fridays, if you shop on Friday, is you quadruple your gas points. So we end up saving, we're buying what we need. We save money on the coupons, and then we get gas points in order to save money on gas. So it's kind of a gamified thing, and it's really fun because Mr. Friggin Farm will share the receipt with me, and he'll say something like, we just spent $85. We saved $120. It has become a weekly ritual where we're kind of celebrating the amount of money that we're saving based on this reward system. And when you can learn and invest a little bit of time in learning how to, I don't want to say manipulate the system, but really understand it, that can save you considerable amount of money. All right, number 6 is similar in that when you order online, rather than going into the store to get it, you're going to save some money. We know those impulse purchases can add up. Those little $2 things here and $5 things there. And oh gosh, I'm hungry. I should probably get this. They add up. So when you order your things online, groceries, my Target runs, for example, Walmart, wherever you shop naturally, do they have an online pickup or a delivery even? I don't get my groceries delivered. We go and pick them up, but so many places will have the free delivery if you order X amount. And if you're shopping there frequently enough, you will save that money. And then you're going to save a whole heck of a lot of time as well because you've done it once. You don't go in and you don't spend the extra hour wandering the aisles of Target and thinking about all the beautiful things that you need to bring home. All right, number 7 is Google Lens, using your Google Lens. Now, here is something that this is a fun one for me because there are times when I am out and about and I spot something that I like. Maybe it's at Target, maybe it is I'm thrifting. A lot of times it happens when I'm thrifting, and I'll open up my Google app, and that little camera in the top right corner will allow me to kind of scan it a little bit, and then all kinds of things are going to pop up that are similar to it or the same product, and you'll be surprised at how many places that same item is listed for sale at a lower price. So don't negate that. Use that Google Lens to your advantage. And then you can shop the comparison. You can get a lower price often. On that side note, what I want you to keep in mind, and this goes back to this idea of where I started the show, where we're talking about these big savings events. We know the sales. We know Black Friday just happened. We can anticipate too many sales and too many things coming into our ecosystem, our inbox. Even when we're out and about, we can anticipate that. But do you know your sales throughout the rest of the year? Do you know when it is the best time to buy TVs, appliances, clothing, makeup, travel items. Do you know those? If you don't, Google's going to be your best friend here. Of course, in the collective, I have a guide for that. But there are savings opportunities that you should be aware of. And that goes back to the planning. I forgot to mention it in the planning section. Plan ahead. If you know that you need a TV for that room you're redoing, think about the sale time that year that is going to be the best prices for those TVs, and go then. Don't do it sooner. Just wait a little bit and do it then. The other thing too, and I apologize for not putting it in the planning section. This goes back to that. The other thing too is knowing the stores that you shop at, the ones that you love going to, and knowing their sale cycles. I can immediately think of Pottery Barn and their big sales events every single year. Nordstrom. How many of you, and this of course is not necessarily home decor, but brands we love, how many of you shop at Nordstrom and you anticipate every single year, you anticipate their twice yearly Nordstrom sale? Amazon Prime. How many of you anticipate Deal Week? Knowing the stores and the brands that you shop and when those sales are, that will save you a lot of money. All right, back to my list. Number 8, we're on track. Thrifting. Yes, I would be remiss not to say it. I love it. I love it. It allows, it's so wonderful for so many reasons. One, of course, is a lot of times prices are lower. 2, it saves the environment. You guys, we are living in a consumeristic world. We know that. And there are more items put out into the world. And then what happens when they're done? They sometimes go to the landfill. That makes my heart really sad. And one way that we can stop that or help our planet even, is by thrifting and reusing something that was once loved that is no longer needed or wanted. And when we can find that, fantastic. Bring it into your own home. Let it tell your story. But it is now a storied object in your home. And that is kind of the heartbeat of creating a curated home, is having story. Sometimes that story, of course, we want it to be a reflection of your family, but sometimes that story is someone else's. Sometimes it's the piece that you brought in, the character that is on that table, or the patina that is on the metal. It is kind of etched in those pieces. But in order to thrift well and not waste money, of course, go back to step 1, you need to know your aesthetic. You just need to. When you do, you're going to be able to, again, use that filter. When you see that really cool thing thrifting, because you can't really bring it back. Sometimes 3 days, what have you, but there's limitations there. But knowing your aesthetic will help you identify, I love brass. Brass is part of my aesthetic, which it is mine. And when I'm out looking, I'm looking for brass, because you never know what you're going to find. That's, of course, rule number 1 of thrifting, right? You never know what you're going to find, so you need to remove all expectations. But keep a list of things that you need for your home, that you want for your home. Keep that list handy. Keep it on your phone, as well as your aesthetic, so that when you're out thrifting, you can start seeing, I need, we'll say, brass candlesticks. That's what I'm looking for. I don't want to spend $90 at Pottery Barn for a set of 2. I don't want to do that. But you know what? I definitely want to do it when I'm thrifting, because how charactered and storied are those things? So keep that list handy. And then one thing that really drives me bonkers about thrifting is some stores are higher priced than others. Know that. Be aware of that. And if you don't know that yet, kind of shop around a little bit to see which thrift stores you have available to you, and which ones are really thrift prices and which ones are retail prices in a thrift store box. Go to the ones that are real thrift store prices. We have one in our local area that I don't shop at anymore. Maybe every once in a while I'll go in, for my boys are starting to like thrifting, which this mama heart is so happy. They're liking that. And so we'll go in and we'll look for jeans for them. And of course, I'm not paying $15 for a pair of jeans at a thrift store, but I will pay $8, right? So you're wanting to make sure that you know your comparables. If I can get $15 pair of jeans at H&M, why would I do it at a thrift store? But in the decor realm, that really happens. Why would I pay $20 for a new lamp when I can go and do that just right down the street at Walmart? So know your comps. Number 9, go through, of course, and declutter your things. And I want you to think about separating them into 4 boxes, right? You're going to, the items that you're decluttering, you're going to separate them into things that just aren't broken. They're trash. You need to get rid of them. You're going to separate them into things that need to be rehomed in your home, or even given to a friend or a neighbor who you know specifically, oh, they need that, they love that, they will want that. Of course, you're going to have a donation pile that you're just immediately going to give away to a thrift store. And then you're going to have one that is a reselling. And don't underestimate the reselling. Sometimes it can be a little bit time consuming, but you already have vetted all of these things. And if they're still in good condition, you can make some serious cash back on these things. So I want you to think about, of course, Facebook Marketplace. But I want you to think too, if it is an electronic, think about eBay. And having those little accounts that allow you the ability to pack and ship and sell your item, eBay takes that. There's the kind of the liability piece. So if it's a fraudulent buyer, they have that liability. They're easy to work with, whereas Facebook Marketplace, not so much. But one thing I do on Facebook Marketplace is I eliminate the broader search. I just keep local neighborhood specific item listings so that it is a little bit more secure and it just is a little safer. I've never run into any issues selling on Facebook Marketplace, and because it's local and neighborhood, sometimes I'll even say, come pick it up at my house on my front porch, and it's totally fine. Bigger items that I have maybe outlined or broadened my selling capability for will meet at a public area, a public parking lot. So make sure you are safe doing that. But friend, this is an opportunity for you. If you're wanting to make money and you're saving your items for a garage sale, don't do that. Garage sale prices are the bottom of the bottom of the bottom, but Facebook Marketplace is not. So make sure that you have, if you are doing that as well, that you're not holding on to them for a long time. You know these things need to go. You know that they're 1 foot out the door anyway. Set a realistic time limit so that you can say, if they haven't sold in this amount of time, I'm donating it, giving it a new life, a new story, a new start somewhere else. And you eliminate that clutter. But don't underestimate the resale. That is a huge, quick cash infusion. In fact, the ways that I use it in my own home, we have soccer players in our family who play on traveling teams, which is so much fun for them, but so expensive for the parents. And we need sometimes to have that cash infusion in order to pay the travel fee. And if we are struggling with that a little bit, it is time for me to go through our closets and declutter. Getting rid of things that the boys have outgrown, getting rid of things that they no longer use. And this is not just them, me too. Another thing that I would encourage you to do is look locally at local consignment stores for your clothes. Yes, you can give them to Goodwill. They would absolutely love them, Value Village. But do you have any consignment stores that will pay you cash for the clothes that you donate to their store? I bet you do. In fact, H&M has a program like that. If you like to shop at H&M, they have a clothing recycle, and you have a credit then put back on your card in order to shop the new things. Our local bookstore has something like that. When I'm done with my books, I go and give it to them, and then I can have a credit for when I'm ready to buy a new book. So it's not only supporting them, they're restocking their inventory, but then because I'm a big book reader and I like to shop local, I benefit from that as well. And then number 10, we can't have a budget decorating episode without mentioning DIY, doing it yourself. Of course, this goes back to that idea of knowing your skill set, knowing your wheelhouse, knowing what you can and are capable of. But what I want to say is sometimes, and especially now with the amount of tutorials online on YouTube, I mean, really YouTube, can we just call it YouTube university. I mean, there's so many. If you want to learn it, you can learn it. There are so many resources available and ways that you can start acquiring these skills. And whatever that skill is, if it's painting, if it is painting a cabinet, if it is painting your wall, if it is restaining restaining a coffee table, if it is changing out a chandelier. Of course, I would recommend that you get that double checked by someone who knows. But those are things that you can learn how to do, and that will save you a considerable amount of money. There's, of course, elbow grease involved, and there's time investment if you have to watch some tutorials in order to learn it. But this is exactly how Mr. Fig and Farm has learned all of the woodworking skills that he has. He grew up in a home that did not have that fostered for him. He learned it himself. And I have to say, the very first set of things he built for us was a little jankety. It really was. It was cute. And by cute, I mean it was functional. It was not quite complete. It was fine. But how wonderful it was for him to give it a try. And every build after that built upon itself. It was compounded interest in these skills, in confidence, in a desire to learn. And I mean, if you've seen any of the pictures of our built-in library, stunning. It is stunning. So don't underestimate yourself. And if you have a desire, and if you have a little time, because heaven knows we do, right? We spend so much time scrolling on Instagram or painting on Pinterest or, waiting for our kiddos at soccer practice. We've got a little time to watch a tutorial. It's really a matter of that next step and the courage that it takes to do the next step. So friend, I hope you enjoyed those 10 tips today for ways that you can save money. And really, some of them really get that cash infusion in your pocket if you're ready to make the next step, take the next step in your home refresh. And if you're wanting to start the new year right, I want you to come and join us inside of the Room Reset Workshop. One thing I forgot to mention is that these are live, of course, but I'm having 2 sessions. I'm having a morning session. They are January 14th, 21st, 28th, and I'm having an evening session so that we can honor those working schedules, but 2 sessions so that you can really understand, start the new year off right, learning your design style, making a plan for redoing that one room in your home, using the room redecorating roadmap that teaches you the priorities that are needed in order to make those actions happen. And I teach you how to create a mood board so you can see it all in one place before you even purchase the thing. So come on over and register for that workshop at bit.ly/FF like Fig and Farm Room Reset. And I would love to see you there. All right, friend, until next time, I'll see you soon. Hey, real quick before you go, if you learned something new or found value in today's podcast, would you head over to iTunes to Fig and Farm at Home and leave a review and subscribe to the show? That would be awesome. And if you'd like to connect with my community of mamas who are learning to be intentional storytellers within their own homes, join us at bit.ly/design101 group. There's always more room at the table. See you soon.